you. There you go. Thank you, Councilman. Good morning, everyone. It's good to be back. School is in. We've established a quorum. I'd ask all the guests and visitors if they can retire behind the rail. The members will take their seats. We'll get started. Before we start, because I see we have some new guests today, if you have a cell phone or any other type of electronic device, I'm going to ask that you please turn it off or turn it on airplane mode. Bottom line is, please don't make any noise. All right. Thank you so much for your cooperation. To give our invocation this morning, the chair recognizes Pastor Stephen Avinger, Sr. of Greater St. Matthew's Baptist Church. He is here today as a guest of Councilwoman Bass. I would ask all guests, members, and visitors to please rise. Pastor.
Father God, creator of the universe and sustainer of everything in earth and heaven, we come this morning thanking you for your keeping power and both your grace and mercies that emanates from your throne. We ask your richest blessings upon this day and upon these proceedings. Bless these, your servants of the people, and as they deliberate over the people's business, we pray that you give them wisdom and discernment, that they will make decisions that benefit the city and its residents. Now, God, it is our prayer that you get the glory out of all that is done, and may your mercies and grace be with us all. This prayer we offer to you in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Pastor, for the inspiring words. Appreciate it. Council, be at ease. Thank you again, Pastor. The next order of business is the approval of the journal of the meeting of Thursday, December 14th, 2017. Chair recognizes Councilman Greenlee.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the journal of the meeting of Thursday, December 14th, 2017 be approved.
Thank you. It has been moved and properly seconded that the journal of the meeting of Thursday, December 14th, 2017 stand approved. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, and the journal is approved. The next order of business is a request for leaves of absence, and the chair recognizes Councilman Heenan.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the majority, there are no requests of leaves of absence today.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I seem to be having a little smoke going on up here at this light. I think I better turn this off. Jerry. Why is this thing smoking? Yeah, I better turn it off. All right. Okay, had a little technical difficulty. Councilman Heenan, I'm sorry, we got a little distracted by the smoke coming out of the light.
Mr. President, on behalf of the majority, there are no requests of leaves of absence.
Chair thanks the gentleman, and the chair recognizes Councilman O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the Republicans, there are no requests for leave of absence.
Chair thanks the gentleman. This time I would like to dispense with the regular order of business, and I would like to welcome and thank everyone who has taken time out of their busy day to come down to witness their government in action. We hope your stay here today is a knowledgeable one, but more importantly, a pleasurable one, so much so that you come back again. So thank you so much for being here today. At this time, the chair recognizes Councilman Jones, who will present a resolution recognizing what I call as my hero as it relates to the knowledge of sports, Ray Didinger. Would Mr. Didinger and those accompanying him please join the councilman at the podium? Please come up. And joining Councilman Jones, we have Councilman Greenlee, Councilman Green, Councilman Johnson, Councilwoman Reynolds Brown, okay, and Councilman Taubenberger.
You see it, right?
And Councilwoman Parker.
Could I, although we have certain presenters, could I ask all members of council to join us up here, even if you do not have a written part at this point, but come on up anyway, because we don't know the next time we may be on the precipice of winning a Super Bowl. So I want us to memorialize this with all members. No, don't do it? Okay, all right. Come on up. So come on up. And I thank my colleagues for joining me. So there are many things that qualify you as a Philadelphian. There's cheesesteaks, there's water ice, there's soft pretzels, there's playing in the fire plugs during the summer. Piccadilly. But there's also, what? See, there I go, trusting my members, right? But there's also Ray Didinger. And not to be confused with Big Ray, who was his grandfather, or Little Ray, his father, who was bigger than the grandfather, or Young Ray, who he was called growing up in a bar in Southwest Philadelphia. But we're talking about Ray the Philadelphian, who has bled with us in our wins, cried with us in our losses, but managed never, ever, ever to lie to us about the level of proficiency of our sports teams. So therefore, it is truly an honor to recognize a Philadelphian today. He is an author, he's a sportsman, he is a person who never lies. He doesn't lie. He won't tell you everything he may know about the running back situation or the cornerbacks, but he will never lie, and therefore it brings us comfort. It brings us encouragement when we're about to win. It brings us comfort if we ever lose, and he is a consistent sports voice in Philadelphia, and so therefore we are here to honor Ray Didinger for his recognizing and honoring Ray Didinger for being inducted into the Broadcast Pioneers Hall of Fame. Yeah.
Whereas Ray Didinger, a member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, is a prominent sports writer and commentator and a resident of the East Falls neighborhood of Philadelphia. Yeah, the 4th Councilmanic District. Yes, that's right. Yeah.
And whereas Didinger is a 1968 graduate of Temple University and a member of the Temple University School of Communications Hall of Fame. He wrote for the Philadelphia Bulletin and the Daily News for more than 30 years.
Whereas Ray Didinger was named Pennsylvania's Sports Writer of the Year 5 times by the National Sports Writers and Sportscasters Association. In 1995, he won the Dick McCann Award for his long and distinguished career of pro football, and his name was added to the Writers' Honor Roll in the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio. Ray Didinger's work also earned him 6 Emmy Awards as a producer and writer with NFL films, and
whereas Didinger is the author of 11 books, including 3 bestsellers, The New Eagles Encyclopedia, One Last Read, and the ultimate book of sports movies. In 2016, Didinger wrote his first play, Tommy and Me. The play was performed locally by Theater Exile. And
whereas Didinger is the first print journalist inducted into the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame, he is a host on 94 WIP, all sports radio in Philadelphia, and he is a football analyst on NBC Sports Philadelphia, Eagles pre-game live and post-game live shows. And
whereas in 2017, Ray Didinger famed career was further memorialized when he was inducted into the Broadcasters Pioneers Hall of Fame. And that was reported on by WIP Angelo Cataldi this morning, and now therefore be it.
Resolved by the Council of the City of Philadelphia that it hereby recognizes and honors Ray Didinger for being inducted into the Broadcast Pioneers Hall of Fame. Further resolved that an engrossed copy of this resolution be presented to Ray Didinger as evidence of the sincere appreciation and admiration of this legislative body.
That's it.
Congratulations.
And the chair recognizes Mr. Didinger for remarks.
You know, that's a good look for you. Councilman Jones, I like that. Well, I think this kind of tells the story of what this season's been about and what yet remains to be done. I think you're going to see quite a few of these in Minneapolis in 2 weeks. You know, I've worked in the media for almost half a century. And over the years, many of my colleagues have said, wouldn't you rather be in news? I mean, all you do is just cover games, as if somehow that's not meaningful or important. Well, after seeing what we saw Sunday at Lincoln Financial Field, and later in the streets of our fair city, I defy you to say what we're witnessing with the Eagles is just a game. Clearly, it's much more than that. If all you see are numbers on a scoreboard, then you're missing the point. And what is the true essence and beauty of sports? That is its ability to lift us up and bring us together. In a world where so many things divide us, where we are disconnected physically and emotionally, there's something magical in seeing thousands of Eagles fans, young and old, rich and poor, black and white, all with their faces painted green, standing arm in arm and singing "Fly, Eagles, Fly." The thing I've always loved about sports is the teamwork. And when that teamwork extends to an entire city or an entire region, as we're seeing now, it's a wondrous thing that allows us all to stand a little taller and closer together. The Irish philosopher Francis Hutchinson once said, "That action is best which procures the greatest happiness for the greatest numbers." He said that centuries ago, but he might have said it Sunday night hanging from the top of a traffic light right out there on Broad Street. I was still new to the newspaper business in 1974 when, as a reporter for the Philadelphia Bulletin, I covered the Flyers' first Stanley Cup parade. I rode in the parade sitting next to Joe Watson Sr., the father of Joe and Jimmy Watson. He was a butcher from Smithers, British Columbia, population 300. And he came to Philadelphia to see his sons win the Stanley Cup. As he rode through the streets, gazing out at 2 million cheering fans, he said, "I didn't know there were this many people in the world." I'll always remember that moment, that emotion that made a humble butcher from British Columbia
and the people of Philadelphia feel as one. To me, that's meaningful. To me, that is important. And that's why, after all these years, I still love my job, covering games. I want to thank you, Councilman Jones, for this wonderful honor to stand here in this historic chamber and accept this proclamation is something very special indeed. Thank you all very much, and I hope to see you back here in 2 weeks for a Super Bowl parade.
All right.
Dilly.
Thank you. Council.
So, for all true Eagles fans, we've purchased the new Eagles Encyclopedia, so you can know half as much as Ray Didinger knows. Mr. President.
Thank you, sir.
So, we'll take pictures.
Councilman Jones? Councilman Jones? Did you get one for our good friend in the media with the Dallas Cowboy hat on? I'm sorry, I couldn't help myself. Thank you so much. Go Eagles. At this time, the chair recognizes Councilman Green, who will present a resolution recognizing the Philadelphia Alumni chapter of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity. With Darrell Stevens and those accompanying him, please join the councilman at the podium. I guess Carter's going to stand up there too.
It's somebody from everywhere. In
That's right.
Every community,
Right.
every sector, everything here.
Yeah. Oh, this is just a sampling.
Hey.
That's nice.
My dad's okay. I know that, Brother Barry. Brother Barry, sure. Yeah, they can get one chair. Yes. On January 5th, 1911, 10 astute young men on the campus of Indiana University founded an institution unparalleled in the history of collegiate life. I know my colleagues to my left will understand what I'm talking about. Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity was based on achievement in every field of human endeavor. As you listen to our opening sermon from the Reverend Dr. Stephen Avinger, a member of this august body, Reverend Dr. Leon Sullivan, in the political realm, former mayors Wilson Good, John Street, State Representative Stephen Kinsey, State Senator Sharif Street, and a former member of this body, Councilman George Burrell, all members of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, as well as the men behind me who are about achievement in every field of human endeavor, and also someone who was my mentor, my father, Walter Green. So it brings me great pleasure to present this resolution this morning, and there's a close connection between the City of Philadelphia and Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. The Philadelphia Alumni chapter was founded here May 25th, 1922 by one of our founders, John Milton Lee. And if you look up Broad Street, you will see our international headquarters. And we'll be coming back to you with our conclave in 2019. So it's great pride to present this resolution recognizing the Philadelphia Alumni chapter on the occasion of the 107th annual Founders Day of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated.
Whereas on January the 5th, 1911, on the campus of Indiana University at Bloomington, Indiana, Elder Watson Diggs, John Milton Lee, Byron K. Armstrong, Guy Levi Grant, Ezra D. Alexander, Henry T. Asher, Marcus P. Blakemore, Paul W. Kane, Edward G. Irvin, and George W. Edmonds founded Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. And whereas, through their vision, these 10 astute men founded a college fraternity now comprised of functioning undergraduate and alumni chapters on campuses in cities throughout this nation and the world, and through that seed, a fraternal tree was grown whose fruit of membership is available to and now enjoyed by over 150,000 college men, regardless of race, religion, or national origin. And
whereas from its origin through today, Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity is a unique organization in that its members share a common purpose of achievement in every field of human endeavor, and this unified purpose is exemplified every day by its members in Congress, city halls, courtrooms, boardrooms, newsrooms, classrooms, concert halls, film and recording studios, physicians' offices, athletic fields, fields of combat, pulpits, etc., and more. Whereas, in addition to the achievement of its members, Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity is dedicated to training for both leadership through its various programs, including the Aid Man Initiative, Achievement Academy, Guide Right, Kappa Camp, and Kappa League has mentored hundreds of young men into the past, current, and future leaders of our country. And
Whereas the members of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity have a long commitment to serving the common person, and through this commitment have provided substantial support to St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital, United Negro College Fund, Habitat for Humanity, and several other nationwide and grassroots community service initiatives around the world. And whereas Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity and the City of Philadelphia share a special bond in that the fraternity's international headquarters is located in Philadelphia, and historically, the greater Philadelphia region has been home to hundreds of members in both the undergraduate and alumni chapters. Now therefore be it
resolved by the Council of the City of Philadelphia that we hereby recognize the Philadelphia Alumni Chapter on the occasion of its 107th Annual Founders Day of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. Further resolved that an engrossed copy of this resolution be presented to Darrell Stevens, hallmark of the Philadelphia Alumni Chapter of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, as evidence of the sincere admiration and respect of this legislative body.
And the chair recognizes Mr. Stevens for remarks.
To Council President Darrell Clark and the members of City Council, thank you for your acknowledgement of the Philadelphia Alumni Chapter of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated with this resolution. Since 1911, members of Kappa Alpha Psi have achieved in every field of human endeavor. While our motto is achievement, we realize how important it is that Kappas help others achieve as well. For example, the Philadelphia Alumni Chapter Achievement Academy mentors over 75 young men from middle to high school every year in Germantown at our Achievement Center. As part of our National Guide Right Initiative, members of the Philadelphia Alumni Chapter have a long legacy of indelible achievement. Members include the first two African-American mayors of the city of Philadelphia, and Brother Dr. Reverend W. Wilson Good and Brother John Street Esquire. In addition, we can point to the accomplishments of the late Brother Dr. Reverend Leon Sullivan, founder of OIC and author of the Sullivan Principles, aimed at ending apartheid in South Africa. We serve at the legislative level in City Hall, currently with Brother Councilman Derek Green, and in the past with the late Brother Cecil B. Moore. In Harrisburg, with Brother State Senator Brother Sharif Street Esquire, and State Representative Brother Stephen Kinsey. In July of 2019, Kappa Alpha Psi will hold our national conclave here in the city of brotherly love. We expect that our members and their families will pump millions of dollars into the local economy. We anticipate that Kappas will paint the town in crimson and cream. Stay tuned. God bless Philadelphia. God bless Kappa Alpha Psi. Go Eagles!
And council will be at ease. Thank you and congratulations. Thank you. The next order of business is communications, and the chair requests that the Sergeant of Arms delivers the messages from the mayor to the chief clerk. Mr. Decker, would you please read those messages?
To the President and members of the Council of the City of Philadelphia, pursuant to sections 4604 and 2307 of the Home Rule Charter, I am transmitting to the Council the recommendation of the City Planning Commission on the following bills. Bill numbers 170995, 170996, 171002, 171003, 170985, 170997, and 171128. And I am pleased to advise you that on December 20, 2017, and January 3, 2018, I signed all the bills that were passed by Council at a sessions on December 7, 2017, and that on December 20 and December 21, 2017, and January 3 and January 23, 2018, I signed all the bills that were passed by Council at a session on December 14, 2017, except Bill number 160111A, which I am returning without my signature. And I am submitting herewith for the consideration of your honorable body a resolution appointing Michael Untermeyer to the Board of Directors for the South Street Head House District, and a resolution appointing Kenneth Silver to the Board of Directors for the South Street Head House District, and a resolution appointing Richard Millen to the Board of Directors for the South Street Head House District, and a resolution authorizing the Philadelphia Land Bank to dispose of 2520 Potter Street, located in the 7th Councilmanic District, and a resolution authorizing the Philadelphia Land Bank to dispose of 4546 North Marvine Street, located in the 8th Councilmanic District, in accordance with terms of Chapter 16700 of the Philadelphia Code, all under certain terms and conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Decker. You have any additional communications?
I have none, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. At this time, the chair recognizes Councilwoman Kiona Sanchez.
Thank you, Mr. President. This morning I wanted to take a moment and recognize one of our new addition, our intern, Tanya Broadus. She's a junior at Germantown Friends who's been working in our office in the last month as part of her school project, watching her government in action. She joins our legislative team. I'm always happy to help promote and mentor young women, particularly this week as women are very empowered after Saturday's march. And we will also be nominating her to be a youth commissioner representing the 7th Councilmanic District. So I want to thank her for our work in our office. Where's Tanya?
Stand.
Stand up.
Yes, stand. Congratulations. And the chair recognizes Councilwoman Kim.
Thank you very much, Council President. I just also wanted to take a moment to recognize a lifelong civil rights hero here in Philadelphia who is here with us today, and a board member of the Japanese American Citizen League, and a major leader in the Asian American movement here in Philadelphia, Hiro Nishikawa. If you could just stand up. Hiro will be testifying a little bit later today, but he was an internee at the Poston camp in Arizona and will be speaking significantly to what this moment means about some of the xenophobic hysteria that we've seen and the incredible need for civil rights leaders like himself to carry on legacies. Thank you.
Great. Welcome. Thank you. Thank you. Our next order of business is the introduction of bills and resolutions, and the chair recognizes Councilwoman Reynolds Brown.
Good morning, Mr. President. This morning I offer one bill and 4 resolutions, co-sponsored by members Greenlee, Tautenberger, Jones, Bass, Parker, Blackwell, Sanchez, and Heenan. I thank them all. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
An ordinance amending Title VI of the Philadelphia Code, entitled Health Code, by adding a new chapter 6310 entitled Sodium Safety Warning Labeling for Chain Restaurants.
For the committee.
And a privilege resolution honoring and recognizing the career of Monica Malpass on the occasion of her 30-year anniversary as a journalist for 6 ABC Philadelphia.
Today's calendar.
And a privilege resolution recognizing National Mentoring Month and the work of Big Brothers, Big Sisters Independence Region to connect Philadelphia children to positive and dedicated adult mentors.
Today's calendar.
And a privilege resolution honoring the African American Children's Book Project on the occasion of the 26th Annual African American Children's Book Fair and the February 3rd kickoff of the National Literacy Initiative's Preserve a Legacy, Buy a Book program.
And that will be on today's calendar.
And a privilege resolution honoring and recognizing Merrill Levitz for her pioneering leadership of Visit Philadelphia and her extraordinary service to the City of Philadelphia.
And that will also be on today's calendar. Chair recognizes Councilman Jones at this time.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have 2 bills, 3 non-privileged resolutions and 3 privileged resolutions, one on your behalf.
Oh, no, Council, I thought you had your light on.
Oh,
for
you, okay.
the
I
recognition.
did, but you
Oh.
started introducing bills. That's okay. I wanted to jump back to recognizing people and a school in particular that came down to watch democracy in action. They are members of the Eastern Academy Charter School who are taking it to the next level through activism, fighting for their renewal down with the school district. And I wanted to recognize them today. Would you please stand? I believe they're in the balconies and behind us. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman, and thank you all, and thanks for coming down. We appreciate it. Chair now recognizes Councilwoman Blackwell for introduction.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today I introduce 1 bill and 5 resolutions. All but 1 resolution have been signed by each and every member of council.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Councilwoman.
An ordinance amending Title 12 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Traffic Code by providing for the reimbursement of filing fees for parking ticket appeals.
For the committee.
And a privilege resolution recognizing and honoring Lynette Brown-So on the occasion of her retirement for her committed service to the Community College of Philadelphia and for her many accomplishments that have benefited the City of Philadelphia.
Today's calendar.
And a privilege resolution recognizing and honoring Dr. Stephen S. Tang for his work at the University City Science Center and his leadership in technology and innovation in the City of Philadelphia.
Today's calendar.
And a privilege resolution authorizing the City Council Committee on Transportation and Public Utilities to hold hearings to discuss the public advertising and outreach concerning the implementation for the SEPTA key cards and the phasing out of tokens.
Today's calendar.
And a non-privileged resolution expressing support for the resolution introduced by the United States Congressional Black Caucus condemning and calling for the censure of President Trump because of remarks he made about certain African countries, Haiti, and El Salvador.
And that will be on next week's calendar.
And a non-privileged resolution authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority, without consideration deeds conveying conditional fee simple title to certain city-owned lots of pieces of ground with the buildings and improvements thereon, situated in the 51st Ward of the City of Philadelphia.
And that will also be on next week's calendar. Chair recognizes Councilman Greenlee.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today I offer 1 bill on your behalf and offer 2 resolutions, one of which are also on your behalf, and those resolutions are signed by all members of City Council.
Thank you, Councilman.
An ordinance to amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by Girard Avenue, 5th Street, Spring Garden Street, 8th Street, Brown Street, and 9th Street.
For the committee.
And a privilege resolution honoring and congratulating Bill Speedy Morris on winning 1,000 games as a college and high school basketball coach.
And that will be on today's calendar.
And a non-privileged resolution also naming Glenwood Avenue from Broad Street to Germantown Avenue as Smoke and Joe Frazier Boulevard.
And that will be on next week's calendar. Chair recognizes Councilman Heenan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no bills or resolutions today.
Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilman Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have two bills, 3 non-privileged and 3 privileged resolutions, one on your behalf.
Thank you, Councilman.
An ordinance legalizing an existing retaining wall encroachment at 289 Osborne Street.
For the committee.
And an ordinance to amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by Euclid Street, 53rd Street, Moore Street, and George's Lane.
For the committee.
And a privileged resolution authorizing the Philadelphia City Council to hold public hearings to explore establishing public safety officers and alternative code enforcement methods to improve the quality of life throughout the city.
Today's calendar.
And a privileged resolution recognizing and honoring the Philadelphia Water Department crews and customer service staff for their unprecedented response to water main breaks and emergencies during the freezing cold weather in the winter of 2017-2018.
Today's calendar.
And a privileged resolution honoring and celebrating Philadelphia living legends, George Albert Beach, Joey Temple, Rita R. Smith, Wade L., and Valeria Bullock, who are leaders in the areas of civil rights, community activism, education, business, and youth mentorship in the Philadelphia area, and further honoring those legends who are no longer with us, Vernon Marks, Charlie Boo Burris, Abdul Malik Muhammad, Carl Moore, and Joe Falk, as part of the commemoration of Black History Month.
And that will also be in today's calendar.
And a non-privileged resolution calling on the Pennsylvania State Legislature to pass a law requiring convicted domestic violence abusers to immediately relinquish all firearms within their possession to law enforcement.
And that will be on next week's calendar.
And a non-privileged resolution encouraging the Philadelphia District Attorney's Office and the First Judicial District of Pennsylvania to institute internal policies that reduce reliance on cash bail, and further calling on the Pennsylvania State Legislature and the Pennsylvania Supreme Court to revise state laws and procedure codes governing bail to allow for the elimination of cash bail statewide or to provide for an exemption in the law for cities of the first class.
And that'll be on next week's calendar.
And a non-privileged resolution authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority without consideration deeds conveying conditional fee simple title to certain city-owned lots and pieces of ground with the buildings and improvements thereon situated in the 4th Ward of the City of Philadelphia.
Next week's calendar. And the chair recognizes Councilman Johnson.
Thank you, Council President. I have 3 resolutions and 1 bill on your behalf I would like to speak on, please.
Thank you, Councilman. After the resolution.
Yes.
An ordinance authorizing transfers and appropriations for fiscal year 2018 from the Grants Revenue Fund, the Director of Finance Provision for Other Grants, to the General Fund, the Managing Director.
On the resolution?
Yes.
Which one?
Thank you, Council President. Council President, as a longtime advocate of gun violence prevention, I have a lot of good days, but also I have a lot of bad days. I have lost count of the number of funerals that I have attended for constituents who have lost their lives far too soon to senseless gun violence. When I visit schools in my district, which should be a joyful part of my schedule as an elected official, I ask a classroom full of children to raise their hand if they know someone who have been victimized by gun violence. In a typical classroom, the majority of students in the class raise their hand. But today is a good day in moving forward in addressing the issue of youth gun violence here in the city of Philadelphia. As chair of the Special Committee on Gun Violence, I work closely with partners across the city of Philadelphia on better coordination and planning for gun violence prevention. This is not an easy task. A leading partner in the newly formed Office of Violence Prevention, which has been re-examining the city's violence prevention approach from the ground up. I have full faith in the office director, Shondell Ravel, but I have become convinced that they need additional capacity in order to succeed in their mission. I want to thank you, Council President, today for working to bring the $200,000 to the Managing Director's office to support this effort in addressing the issue of youth gun violence. This is only the first step as we approach the budget process to begin prioritizing how we address the issue of youth gun violence here in the city of Philadelphia. These funds will build on other important gun violence prevention steps the city has taken recently, including the police department new gun violence suppression unit. You know, last year we have ended the year with over 317 homicides here in the city of Philadelphia, so that should not go under the radar. That there is a new task force to specifically go after guns, and also the law department's lawsuit to ensure timely reporting of the national database for gun background checks, and the health department's anti-gun violence media campaign. This is one small step in our efforts to address the issue of young gun violence, but if we're going to be a great city, if we're going to recruit companies such as Amazon to come to the city of Philadelphia, we must have a safe city. So, Council President, I want to thank you for your leadership and your partnership, and I also want to thank the chairperson of the Committee on Public Safety for also working diligently and closely with me to address this issue. This is only the beginning, and as we move closer to the budget process, then that's really where the rubber is going to hit the road as we advocate for initiative to put boots on the ground so we can have young men and young ladies having the opportunity to get involved in something that's positive as opposed to picking up guns. Thank you very much, Council President.
Thank you, Councilman. Thank you for continuing the focus.
Thank you.
And a privileged resolution honoring and recognizing Read by Fourth for its dedication to increasing the educational attainment in the city of Philadelphia.
Today's calendar.
And a privileged resolution honoring and recognizing the Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority for its dedication to sisterhood and service in celebration of the sorority's 110th anniversary.
And today's calendar.
And a privileged resolution honoring and recognizing the Philadelphia Industrial Development Corporation on the occasion of the organization's 60th anniversary.
And that will also be in today's calendar. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Fiona Sanchez.
Thank you, Council President. I have 3 bills and 4 resolutions, 1 bill and 1 resolution on your behalf.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
An ordinance providing for the submission to the qualified electors of the city of Philadelphia of the proposals set forth in a resolution approved by council, proposing an amendment to the Philadelphia Home Rule Charter relating to the Philadelphia Land Bank's ability to acquire vacant, tax-delinquent property and to return such property to productive use while revitalizing neighborhoods fairly and equitably. And an ordinance amending Section 14513 of the Philadelphia Code entitled TOD, Transit-Oriented Development Overlay District, to revise requirements to designate several transit-oriented development transit stations.
For the committee.
And an ordinance authorizing the Capital Group 2 to install, own, and maintain a proposed retaining wall and existing fence encroachment at 2000 McKinley Street.
For the committee.
And a privileged resolution authorizing the Committee on Public Health and Human Services to hold hearings to assess the City of Philadelphia's efforts as coordinated by the Managing Director's Office and our Human Services departments to prevent and treat abuse, addiction, and disease related to the use of opioids.
This week's calendar.
And a non-privileged resolution authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority without consideration deeds conveying conditional fee simple title to certain city-owned lots and pieces of ground with the buildings and improvements thereon situated in the 18th Ward of the City of Philadelphia.
And that will be on next week's calendar.
And a non-privileged resolution authorizing the Philadelphia Land Bank to dispose of 2520 Potter Street located in the 7th Councilmanic District.
That will be on next week's calendar.
And a non-privileged resolution proposing an amendment to the Philadelphia Home Rule Charter relating to the Philadelphia Land Bank's ability to acquire vacant tax-delinquent property and to return such property to productive use while revitalizing neighborhoods fairly and equitably.
And that will be referred to committee. And the chair recognizes Councilman Green.
Thank you, Council President. I have 2 privileged resolutions and 1 bill.
Thank you, Councilman.
An ordinance amending Chapter 19200 of the Philadelphia Code entitled City Funds, Deposits, Investments, Disbursements by amending Section 19201 entitled City Depositories by authorizing the city treasurer to deposit funds in Fulton Bank National Association.
Refer to committee.
And a privilege resolution authorizing the Committee on the Disabled and Persons with Special Needs to hold hearings regarding professional and family caregivers and first responders in the city of Philadelphia.
And that will be on today's calendar.
And a privilege resolution recognizing and honoring Jo Ann Fisher for her service to the women, children, and families of Philadelphia.
Today's calendar. That's it. Thank you, Mr. Decker. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Parker.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have one privileged resolution.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
A privilege resolution authorizing Philadelphia City Council's Special Committee on Student Loan Debt to investigate the impact of student loan debt on older borrowers in the city of Philadelphia.
And that will be on today's calendar. Chair recognizes Councilman Dunn.
Thank you, Council President and colleagues. I have 3 privilege resolutions and 2 bills on the Hero Awards bill. It's being co-introduced with Councilman Taubenberger, with co-sponsors O, Parker, Heenan, Squilla, and O'Neill. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman.
An ordinance amending Chapter 16200 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Sales, Leases, and Other Grants of City-Owned Buildings and Facilities by requiring appraisals as a condition of approval of certain acquisitions and dispositions of real estate.
Refer to committee.
And an ordinance amending Section 21105 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Hero Awards by increasing the amount that may be awarded to family members of firefighters, police officers, and prosecution detectives killed in the course of performing heroic deeds.
And refer to committee.
And a privilege resolution recognizing January 2018 as Earned Income Tax Credit EITC Awareness Day in the city of Philadelphia.
Today's calendar.
And a privilege resolution honoring and remembering the late D. Herbert Lipson, owner of Boston and Philadelphia magazines, who passed away Monday, December 25, 2017, at the age of 88 years old.
Today's calendar.
And a non-privileged resolution encouraging Apple Incorporated to choose the city of Philadelphia as the future home of its new U.S.-based campus.
And that will be on next week's calendar. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Gimm.
Thank you very much, Council President. I have 1 bill and 3 privileged resolutions.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
An ordinance amending Chapter 93500 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Fair Criminal Record Screening Standards by adding certain provisions to clarify that the prohibitions on use of criminal records provided herein also include records arising from the juvenile justice system, and adding definitions.
Refer to committee.
And a privilege resolution declaring January 30, 2018, Fred Korematsu Day of Civil Liberties and the Constitution in the city of Philadelphia.
Today's calendar.
And a privilege resolution honoring the heroic efforts of professional caregivers and declaring February 15, 2018 as Caregivers Day in the city of Philadelphia.
Today's calendar.
And a privilege resolution authorizing the Committee on Children and Youth to conduct hearings regarding the impact of unpredictable and inadequate work hours on the well-being of families and examining the effect of unstable work weeks on children and caregivers.
And that will also be in today's calendar. Chair recognizes Councilman Taubenberger.
Thank you, Council President. I have 2 privileged resolutions co-sponsored by all members of council, and I thank them very much.
Thank you, Councilman.
A privilege resolution authorizing the Committee on Education to hold hearings regarding Graduate Philadelphia, a nonprofit that supports adults who have some college credit and no degree to go back to school to get their diploma. The adults who return back to school to start or finish their college education have come to be known as comebackers.
And that'll be on today's calendar.
And a privileged resolution honoring, recognizing, and celebrating the 25th anniversary of the Pennsylvania Convention Center of Philadelphia and the strong cultural and economic impacts it has had on our city and the region.
And that will be on today's calendar. The chair recognizes Councilman O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no bills or resolutions.
Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilman Squilla.
Thank you, Mr. President. We'll for 3 bills and 4 resolutions.
Thank you, Councilman.
An ordinance amending Section 5 of an ordinance, Bill Number 170474A, approved June 22, 2017, entitled an ordinance authorizing 1338 Incorporated to install, own, and maintain an open-air sidewalk cafe at 1338 through 1340 South 10th Street, and an ordinance authorizing the City of Philadelphia to organize an authority to be known as the Keller Hill Business Improvement District pursuant to the provisions of the Municipality Authorities Act, and an ordinance amending Section 12701 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Bicycle Lanes by authorizing the Department of Streets to designate a bicycle lane in the eastbound direction on Ray Street from North 8th Street to North 5th Street, and to remove a travel lane in the eastbound direction on Ray Street from North 8th Street to North 6th Street.
Those 3 bills just read by the Chief Clerk will be referred to the appropriate committees.
And a non-privileged resolution authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority without consideration deeds conveying conditional fee simple title to certain city-owned lots and pieces of ground with the buildings and improvements thereon, situated in the 25th Ward of the City of Philadelphia.
That'll be on next week's calendar.
And a non-privileged resolution appointing Richard Millen to the Board of Directors for the South Street Head House District.
Next week's calendar.
And a non-privileged resolution appointing Michael Untermeyer to the Board of Directors for the South Street Head House District.
Next week's calendar.
And a non-privileged resolution appointing Kenneth Silver to the Board of Directors for the South Street Head House District.
And that will also be on next week's calendar. The chair recognizes Councilwoman Bass.
Thank you, Mr. President. I offer 2 non-privileged resolutions.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
A privileged resolution authorizing Council's Committee on Transportation and Public Utilities to investigate train operators' responsibilities for cleanup, maintenance, and beautification of transit entry points into Philadelphia.
And that will be on this week's calendar.
And a non-privileged resolution authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority without consideration deeds conveying conditional fee simple title to certain city-owned lots and pieces of ground with the buildings and improvements thereon, situated in the 11th Ward of the City of Philadelphia.
And that'll be on next week's calendar. The chair recognizes Councilman O.
Thank you very much, Council President. Today I offer 3 privilege resolutions co-sponsored by members Don Parker, Bass, Tom Berger, Reynolds, Brown, and Green. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman.
A privilege resolution recognizing and honoring the 2017 winners of PHL Live Center Stage.
This week's calendar.
And a privilege resolution recognizing and honoring Brennan Jones for his Haircuts for the Homeless mission and Sean Johnson for donating a barbership, now called Phenomenon Perfection Hair Studio, to keep the mission alive.
This week's calendar.
And a privilege resolution recognizing and honoring Rob Schwartz for his pioneering multimedia career.
And that will also be in this week's calendar. And that concludes our introduction of bills and resolutions. We have no reports from committee today. So I would now like to recognize the next order of business is the consideration of the calendar. There being no bills on the first reading calendar today, the chair recognizes Councilman Heenan for the purpose of calling up bills and resolutions on the final passes calendar today.
Thank you, Mr. President. The following resolutions and bills are being called up for the second reading and final passage on today's calendars. Bill numbers 171135, 171136, 171140, 170850-A, 170961, 170955, 170997. All other resolutions and bills are being held at this time.
Thank you, Councilman. Before considering these resolutions and bills, we have our public comment session. Our public comment session will go as follows. If you have an interest in testifying on a bill and resolution, on today's final passes calendar, if you have not already done so, you may sign up at the table to my left. When your name is called, you will go to the middle of the council chambers. There's a podium. There's a device on that podium. When the light turns green, it will be your time to speak. When the light turns yellow, you will have 30 seconds to conclude your remarks. When the light turns red, we would ask you to please adhere to our guidelines and conclude your remarks. You will have 3 minutes to testify. Thank you very much for your anticipated cooperation. Mr. Decker, please call the first name.
Eileen Callahan. Eileen Callahan. Jerome Dorsey. Commenting on 171-138.
Good day, everyone. Council President Clark and City Council members and everyone else in attendance. In October of last year, I was arrested by Philadelphia Police Department, actually with no evidence. A warrant was sent out from the District Attorney's Office, no evidence. This is in reference to Curtis Jones' resolution to reform bail here in the city of Philadelphia. So that occurred. I didn't think much of it. I said, okay, all right. I'll get an opportunity to prove my innocence, that I had nothing to do with anything. However, I was given an excessive bill. You know, when you get locked up, I don't know if how many people have been locked up. That was actually my first time. They take your cell phone. You can't remember a number. The only number I could remember was my mother's number. She called a friend of mine, and they got in touch with the Community Bail Fund. I mean, a $30,000 bill, that's a lot of money. Okay, and particularly I couldn't get in contact with anybody, but I'd just like to read something. Current initiatives to reform bail in Pennsylvania. Give me a moment. In Pennsylvania, State Senator Darrell Leach, Minority Chair of the Senate Judiciary Committee, has announced his intention to introduce legislation to end pretrial detention for failure to pay bail. We are enclosing his co-sponsorship memos. New Philadelphia Mayor Jim Kenney has said that his committee to reform Philadelphia's bail system and holding fewer people for pretrial. The City of Philadelphia has recently awarded a $3.5 million grant from the MacArthur Foundation to find ways to reduce the county jail population by 34% over the next 3 years, and ending cash bail will be essential in reaching and hopefully exceeding his goal. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Clerk, would you please read our next person to testify today?
Joshua Glenn. Commenting on 171-138.
How y'all doing? My name is Joshua Glenn. I'm a member of the No 215 Jail Coalition. I'm also a member of the Coalition for a Just District Attorney, also the co-founder of the Youth Art and Self-Empowerment Project, and I'm also a member of the Philadelphia Reentry Think Tank. I was signed up to speak on the bill 171138, but I actually want to speak on the bill or the resolution that Curtis Jones is producing about ending cash bail in Philadelphia. And I also see ways that ending cash bail is kind of connected to the mental health stuff too. I believe that if people aren't held pre-trial on cash bails, then they won't be in prison and they won't have to deal with their mental health issues in prison. Especially, I don't think they should have to deal with them in there because the prisons aren't really fit to deal with the mental health issues. I think they should be in mental health facilities. But to go into my story, at the age of 16, I was locked up and charged as an adult, and I was held in adult prison pre-trial for 18 months until my case was eventually dismissed due to lack of evidence. When I got out, I mean, there were so many barriers in my way for me to get back on track. So when I got out, one, I couldn't get a job. Even though I wasn't convicted of the crime, I couldn't get a job because every time I would try to go and try to apply for a job, it would come up that I was arrested and charged as an adult. So that would stop me from getting employment. Also, the 18 months that I was locked up, my family was split up. I ended up having to go into a foster home. And it was a really hard process for me. The only reason I'm here today, and the only reason I'm here and representing all these organizations and doing such amazing work is because of the support that I had. And I think that we need to shift the culture of what punishment means. We need to create more programs that help people change their lives upon their release. We need to create more programs that support people during their incarceration and after their incarceration so that they can change their lives. One, we need to end cash bail. Cash bail has been being used as a tool to hold people in jail for long periods of time and to get them to plea out. To tell a story about my situation again, I mean, on my trial date, my public defender came in and told me, he said, look, you're going to lose this case. He said, they're giving you time served, you can get out today. I think you should take this deal. I didn't take the deal. You know, I said, no, I'm not taking the deal. I didn't do it. I'm not taking the deal. And then I ended up beating the case. And standing right next to me, the same attorney that just lied to me and said I was going to lose. It's hard. And that happens to people every day because of this cash bail system. Also, it's not fair, you know. It doesn't have anything to do with public safety. It doesn't make our public any more safer. If a person can afford to get out, they can get out. And it doesn't make our communities any more safe. And so we need to really end cash bail, and we need to figure out a way to create programs that address the root causes to why people are committing crimes in the first place. Thank you. That's my time. I can still talk with it. That's my time.
Thank you. Clerk, our next speaker, please.
Kara Trather. Commenting on 171-138.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Kara Tratner. I'm here to speak on the same bill and same issue as Josh Glenn and also Jerome Dorsey, who started. I'm from the No 215 Jail Coalition and the Philadelphia Community Bail Fund. I feel lucky to be one of the organizers of the Community Bail Fund because I'm one of the people who has the opportunity to go into the jails and speak with the folks who we're able to post bail for. So as a Community Bail Fund, we pay bail for people who can't afford bail because they and their families don't have the means to afford it. And in those conversations, so I'm here to speak about the resolution that Councilman Jones is putting forward today as well about ending cash bail in Philadelphia. And I just wanted to share a little of my experience with the bail fund because in those meetings, when I go and meet with individuals, when we go to let them know the decision that we're able to post their bail, often what happens is I'm holding someone's hand and they're crying with me and telling me, I never thought I was going to go home. I had no idea how I was going to get home. My family didn't have the money to pay. And Jerome is an example, the first man who spoke today. He wouldn't be here today to speak with you all if we weren't able to post his bail, because he would still be in jail because he's still awaiting trial. So, there's another individual who we posted bail for by the name of Carlette, who was sitting in jail for 14 months, over a year, just waiting for court. He never even saw her attorney's face in that entire 14 months that she was sitting in jail because of an unaffordable bail until we posted her bail. So these are just a couple examples. We've bailed out 30 people now in this way, but as proud as I am of the work we're doing, I'm also infuriated that we need to exist. It shouldn't be on the hands of volunteers like myself who are raising money from our own communities and from communities in this city to pay unaffordable bail to give people their freedom. And right now, bail is being used in a way that's not only we know is unconstitutional and illegal, even by the rules of the own FJD and by the Supreme Court hearing, which says detention should be a carefully limited exception. And right now, detention is the rule in this city. Detention is the default that's being used, and unaffordable bail is a strategy that's being used to keep people in jail and to detain them before trial. So we're here to urge City Council to support the resolution, that we applaud Councilman Jones for putting forward this resolution, and we believe that Council has some power in this. We know that it's a statewide change that would need to be made to eliminate bail, but we also know that budget hearings are coming up, and we know that there's ways that City Council can work with the FJD, can put pressure on the 1st Judicial District and the DA's office to make changes that would actually end the money bail system, and importantly to us, would stop holding people pre-trial, not just on money, but for no means would actually make detention a last resort. So we thank you for your time.
Thank you. Clerk, our next speaker, please.
Arjun Malik. Commenting on 171-138.
I'm also here to speak about the resolution that Councilman Jones put forward. Thank you, Councilman Jones, for your resolution on ending cash bail. My name is Arjun Malik. I'm speaking on behalf of the Philadelphia Bail Fund, which has a similar goal to the Community Bail Fund. We post bail for people who cannot afford it, and our goal is to vigorously advocate for the end of cash bail in Philadelphia. Bail funds can only do so much, but we need structural change in the city. And I have 3 points on that today. So the first is, if council is serious about ending money bail in this city, it needs to put pressure on FJD and the municipal court. Oftentimes, the discussion on bail reform focuses on the state legislature, and that's great, but the municipal court in Philadelphia has great power, discretionary power over setting people's bail. The state legislation, as it stands today, it provides multiple options for release on one's own recognizance, on non-monetary conditions, on unsecured money bail. So in other words, it provides all of these options that do not require people to pay for their pretrial freedom. So it is completely up to the discretion of the municipal court to decide on what options will be selected in different cases. So if a majority of the municipal court judges and the president judge of the municipal court committed to a set of guidelines that reduced or eliminated the use of cash bail, they would be implemented almost immediately. So Philadelphia does not need to wait for the legislature to act on this issue. The city can do so itself through the municipal court. The second point I wanted to make was on the early bail review program, which many people have heard of, which has been implemented through the MacArthur program. The program is a step in the right direction, but I want to point out 2 major flaws that council should focus on. First, early bail review hearings only happen 5 days after someone is arraigned. 5 days is far too long. 5 days in pretrial detention, especially for people in poverty, means the loss of employment, means the loss of housing, and even the loss of custody over children. And studies have found that just 3 days in pretrial detention cause higher rates of recidivism and high rates of failure to appear. Second, early bail review today only covers a small subset of the cases that come before the court. Council needs to work towards expanding EBR hearings and making sure they happen in a much more timely manner. And finally, I want to make the point that Philadelphia's regime, well, I'm out of time, but Philadelphia's regime of pretrial detention violates some basic constitutional principles that we need to look to, including the right to have legal counsel. Thank you.
Thank you. Clerk, could you please read the name of our next speaker, please?
Wayne Jacobs. Commenting on 171138.
Good morning, Councilman. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. One, I know Council is going to do the right thing in terms of passing this initiative, and I'd like for Council to look at this initiative as not so much as making money, but saving money. You know, we can finally do something to save money and possibly put people back to work. You know, when looking at the Nobel thing, you have to also look at the fact that now we have people that is accused of crimes that we can save $135 a day and still maintain public safety. You know, once that person is arrested, we can still maintain that public safety because, wow, we can now suggest to these individuals that they can go and participate in different things that is available for them while they're waiting for court. We can also look at ways of providing housing for folks who doesn't have an addresses because of the fact that they've been arrested and doesn't have a place to live. So I'm looking at this initiative as a way that the city of Philadelphia can save money and use that money in other areas. Thank you.
Thank you. Clerk, our next speaker, please.
Robert Burge. Commenting on 170678.
Yes, my name's Robert Berg. Mr. Curtis, how are you, sir? I'm talking about this mixed income housing project that you guys have been avoiding. And it's really important because I've been on I'm trying to get housing right now. This is something I've been on your list for 6 years now, gentlemen and ladies. This is really getting to be really tight. This is something that works in other cities. I'm not been part of it, but I've been working for the contractors that have it. It works in other cities. Do not be afraid that people won't build houses here in Philadelphia. It works, and it works in other cities, and it's just something that I think that we need affordable housing here in Philadelphia. I'm really stressed right now. I'm in a shelter that I've been in the shelter for 9 months, and I've been going through all my housing projects, and it's going to take me another year before I can get housing. And that's because there's no affordable housing available. If we let the people that are building new projects take part of this, how it works is that they will put a 30% of, well, that's what New York City does. Every building because I work to it takes, if you build a housing project in a city, they make you do 30% of it has to be for low-income people. And that's what it is. And if you want more information, you can get hold of me You know how to do that. You can get more information, and I can tell you how it works in other cities. Thank you.
Thank you. Clerk, our next speaker, please.
Hiro Nishikawa, commenting on Fred Korematsu Day resolution introduced by Councilwoman Kim today.
Members of the City Council, it is with great honor that I testify on behalf of the Philadelphia JCL, or the Japanese American Citizens League, to support the resolution to declare January 30, 2018 as Korematsu Day in our city of brotherly and sisterly love. Our chapter was founded in 1947 and is part of a national civil rights organization established in 1929 with headquarters now in San Fran and Washington, D.C. During and after World War II, Quakers based in Philadelphia helped, quote, rescue hundreds of Japanese Americans from the War Relocation Authority camps and brought them to this region for jobs and attending schools. Many of these folks later on were involved in the formation of the Philadelphia JACL. One chapter member, William Maritani, was the first Asian American to present an amicus brief to the U.S. Supreme Court in 1967 to halt state anti-miscegenation laws in the case of Loving versus Virginia. This result finally struck down laws preventing mixed-race marriages throughout the United States. Maritani later became the first Asian American judge, guess where? Common Pleas Court in Philadelphia. In 1975, this is a major city east of the Mississippi. He was also a member of the Commission on Wartime Relocation and Internment of Civilians, a commission established by President Jimmy Carter in 1978 to gather information on the Japanese American incarceration during World War II. A book, Personal Justice Denied, was the first final report which gave grounding to two major developments. The first was the Civil Liberties Act of 1988, which provided redress to Japanese Americans for their loss of constitutional rights during World War II. This congressional campaign was led by Grace Uehara, who's now deceased, a founding member of the Philadelphia JCL. This act was profound in that the United States government admitted a wrong based on racial prejudice, wartime hysteria, and lack of political leadership. The other result of this study was the Coram Nobis cases in 1983, where Fred Korematsu in California was finally vindicated for his personal refusal to be incarcerated in WRA camps during World War II, and then losing his civil rights in a decision all the way up to the Supreme Court in 1944. But with the Coram Nobis cases, his name is being cleared, and Korematsu began to speak on civil rights issues with renewed energy. Following 9/11, he even filed amicus briefs on behalf of prisoners in Guantanamo being held indefinitely without due process. He warned the Supreme Court not to repeat the mistakes foisted on Japanese Americans onto new, quote, enemy faces. He also urged others to protest, but not with violence, and don't be afraid to speak up. One person can make a difference, even if it takes 40 years. His spirit continues to inspire us. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony, sir.
Catherine Blunt, commenting on 170954.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
City Council. I applaud the intent and spirit of Ordinance 170954 regarding the Philadelphia Schools District's transition to local control as encouraged by that March 2015 vote in which the majority of voters in this city voted against the SRC. Abraham Lincoln called for a government of, by, and for the people. This ordinance allows for a Philadelphia school board that is more democratically appointed with the involvement of City Council in the process. I'm here with Dr. Palmer, who is the administrative assistant of W. Curtis Thomas. And I am now going to read you some of his concerns. 3 months have gone by in this race to take control of the school district, yet no school transition team study is in place. No comprehensive plan has been put before the public as of now. Under PA's right to know law, the public has a right to know what the process was used to appoint 13 members to the nominating committee. Representative Thomas wants to know why the black clergy weren't involved. Why was there not an African-American organization involved, particularly since the overwhelming majority of students in the school district are African-American? He says City Council should also question why birth dates and other personal identifying information is required on forms to nominate school board candidates. This blocked many submitting forms on behalf of candidates, and so therefore an accurate number of candidates cannot be ascertained. Finally, what additional supports will there be for low-performing schools? Will this new school board have independent fiscal authority? Will it be able to make final decisions about spending needs? Will teachers be able to teach in their areas of competency? Will the interior and exterior of school campuses be safe? And will the infrastructure, books, supplies, and technology materials be available in safe and secure environments? These are why the city must create a comprehensive and well-documented, thought-out plan regarding the process of building a school board. And he says he would like it to be, and he thinks you would too, he would like it to be a fair and equitable process for all students, regardless of zip code. He says it is our duty. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony, ma'am.
Ruth Burchett. Commenting on 160007.
Good afternoon.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I would like to begin just very briefly by stating my appreciation to Councilwoman Brown and Gim for the bill of 170408. As an elder who has volunteered in an elementary school in my neighborhood, Frederick Douglass School, I have gotten to call many homes in reference to our children and their difficulties in school. And I will tell you very clearly that our children are challenged by the impact of violence in our communities, and a lot of times their behaviors are exhibited in school, cause them to end up being suspended from school, and it compromises their education. I've seen it over and over again. I am here, though, right now to speak to Bill 16007 and express my approval of this bill being repealed. I will tell you that this bill brings to mind what's happening right now with Temple University's efforts to build a stadium in our community and their desire to close North 15th Street, which is the only street west of Broad Street other than 20th Street and 22nd that comes all the way to Center City. I would tell you that I'm disappointed that neither Temple University nor our councilman has thought enough of our community to have a community meeting so that you can hear what the larger community, how the larger community feels about this plan. It is disruptive. We're asking that over the next week that Temple University, as well as Council President Clark, if you all would agree to have a community meeting at the High School for Engineering and Science, my former elementary school, so that we can discuss the plans for them to do a special service district as well, which I believe is a neighborhood improvement district in disguise, as well as talk about the closure of North 15th Street as well. Please do not, this council, please do not entertain any bill coming before this council to close North 15th Street without our community having an opportunity to give our views. Please do not disrespect us in that way. It's simply not fair. It is not democratic.
Thank you for your testimony.
Fiona Kavanaugh. Commenting on 171-145.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I hope you're all doing well. I will be brief. So in this bill, the Neighborhood Improvement District, as outlined in this bill, looks like it would benefit the community and help keep it clean because it was planned in partnership with the community. Meanwhile, it brings concern to mind for me. Temple University has proposed somewhat similar development plans, but these plans have not been done openly, honestly, or in partnership with community. I want to be clear that we do not want this council to entertain any bill proposing a special services district or a neighborhood improvement district by Temple University. There has been no communication with the surrounding North Philadelphia community about such changes. Temple University is accelerating its efforts to build a football stadium in our North Philadelphia residential community. Council President Clark and Temple University President Englert have ignored and even refused requests to meet with our community about the stadium. Therefore, as a former Temple University student and as a community resident and as a stadium stomper, we ask this City Council to reject consideration of any bill that proposes the permanent closure of 1800 and 1900 blocks of North 15th Street is a major thoroughfare from North Philadelphia to Center City. Council President Clark, again we request that you and Temple University President Englert attend a public meeting at the G.W. Carver High School for Engineering and Science hosted by Stadium Stoppers. We expect to be contacting about scheduling this meeting within 1 week. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Joe Danahill. Commenting on 171-135 and 171-136.
Again, taking property and not listening to the people. This is an official decree of the people. Mandamus quo warranto, as such, requires immediate action remedy. Every week, council, mayor, and others transfer private property to government, probably illegally. Do the people receive their rights from God? Are these rights plenary? Then how can agents and agencies deny and defy inalienable, inviolable, God-given rights? If government has deemed itself more powerful than God, then why must officials take an oath to God? How can agents and agencies steal my home without compensation, due process, or Seventh Amendment trial by jury? How can government pay a contractor upwards of $100 million, mostly federal taxpayer dollars, to build a mall on my stolen home? How can officials defy oath, constitution, and laws without required prosecution? I quote Justice Marshall, "The very essence of civil liberty certainly consists in the right of every individual to claim protection of the laws whenever he receives an injury. One of the first duties of government is to afford that protection." Could any of the officials recently honoring Dr. King look Dr. King in the eye, knowing they stole my home? The Constitution and laws require me a remedy of this breach of law, breach of clothes, breach of fiduciary duty. Your oath of office requires you to act or face prison. 42 U.S.C. 1982, 1983, 1985, 1986, 1987, 18 U.S.C. 241, 242, 23A1, 23A4, PA Constitution, Article 1, Sections 1 through 11, 26 PA CSA 703, 705, 708, 709, 712, 713, 716, and other laws listed in SCOTUS 1589-65, 14-133A, 14-4056 appear violated. I call for the federal and Commonwealth governments to perform their constitutional obligations, to investigate and prosecute all involved in the illegal theft and illegal deed transfer of my home, 1038 West Wyoming Avenue, the denial of God-given 42 U.S.C. 1982 property rights for 24 years is egregious, extraordinary, oath-violating, and requires immediate remedy. A just government must obey the rule of law. This color of law government must have its charter of government revoked until a constitutionally compliant government is installed. Public servants cannot refuse their sworn duty to act any more than a fireman can refuse to fight a fire. The sovereign people require the Constitution and laws be enforced. Jail is required for all who violate oath, Constitution, or law. I remind Council, it takes a lot of cooperation to create and allow monumental corruption.
Thank you for your testimony.
There are no other speakers on the public comment list, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Mr. Decker. We now consider the bills and resolutions on the second reading and final passage calendar. Mr. Decker, if you can please read the title of 171-135.
A resolution authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority without consideration deeds conveying conditional fee simple title to certain city-owned lots or pieces of ground with the buildings and improvements thereon situated in the 46th Ward of the City of Philadelphia.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Blackwell.
Mr. President, I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Ayes have it. 171-135 is adopted. Mr. Decker, 171-136.
A resolution authorizing the Philadelphia Land Bank to dispose of 1443 North Dover Street located in the 5th Councilmanic District.
Chair recognizes Councilman Greenlee.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed? Ayes have it. 171-136 is adopted. Mr. Decker, 171-140.
A resolution renaming the 4700 block of Ella Street, Mike McCree Way, to recognize, honor, and celebrate the life and legacy of Mike McCree for his dedication to Philadelphia Parks and Recreation.
And the chair recognizes Councilwoman Kiona Sanchez. Councilman.
I move for its adoption.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor? Those opposed? Ayes have it. Resolution 171-140 is adopted. What is Mr. Decker, 170-850A.
An ordinance authorizing Ralston Center to install, own, and maintain bench encroachments on Spring Garden Street, Brown Street, North 37th Street, North 35th Street, and North 34th Street.
This bill has been heard on two separate occasions. We're doing an amendment? Okay. All right. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Blackwell.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to offer an amendment to Bill number 170850. A copy of the amendment has been circulated to all members of council, and I move for its adoption.
Second.
The amendment to 170-850A has been moved and voted on. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it. Bill number 170-850A is amended. It will be placed on our second reading and final passage calendar at our next session of council. Okay. Mr. Decker, 170-961.
An ordinance authorizing the Bagel Place Shop to install, own, and maintain an open-air sidewalk cafe at 404 Queen Street.
This bill has been heard on two separate days. The question is, shall the bill pass finally? Mr. Decker, call the roll.
Councilwoman Bass, Councilwoman Blackwell, Councilman Dom, Councilman Green, Councilman Greenlee, Councilwoman Gim, Councilman Heenan, Councilman Johnson, Councilman Jones, Councilman O'Neill, Councilman O, Councilwoman Parker, Councilwoman Corona Sanchez, Councilwoman Reynolds Brown, Councilman Squilla, Councilman Taubenberger, Council President Clark.
Aye, the ayes are 16, the nays are 0. Majority of members present voting in the affirmative, the bill passes. Mr. Decker, please read the title of 170955.
An ordinance amending Chapter 93300 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Direction, Use, and Inspection of Tower Cranes by revising requirements related to tower cranes and adding requirements regarding the use and inspection of mobile cranes.
Chair recognizes Councilman Heenan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I offer an amendment to Bill number 170955. The amendment has been circulated to all members of council, and I move for its adoption.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and properly second. All in favor of said amendment? Okay. Those opposed? Ayes have it. 17099955 has been amended. It will be placed on our second reading and final passage calendar at our next session of council. Mr. Decker, 170997.
An ordinance to amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded on the northeast by the Manayunk Canal, on the southeast by Green Lane, on the southwest by the Schuylkill River, and on the northwest by Leverington Avenue, with a straight line extending from Leverington Avenue to the Schuylkill River. Further, to approve the residential mixed-use 2 district, RMX2, master plan for the foregoing designated areas of land. Further, to amend certain provisions of Section 14503 of the Philadelphia Code in connection with the foregoing master plan. Further, to amend the Property Maintenance Code to exclude the foregoing master plan from certain provisions of said Property Maintenance Code.
Chair recognizes Councilman Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to offer an amendment to Bill number 170997. A copy of this amendment has been circulated to all members of council, and I move for the adoption of the amendment.
Thank you. It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. Bill number 170997 has been amended. It will be placed on our second reading and final passage calendar at our next session of council. Chair recognizes Councilman Squilla.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just in my absence, I would like to be voted aye on all bills and resolutions that I missed.
Thank you, Councilman. The record shall reflect that the councilman voted aye on 170961. That vote is now 17-0. And all other resolutions. Okay. Mr. Decker, you have any additional resolutions?
A resolution honoring and recognizing the career of Monica Malpass on the occasion of her 30-year anniversary as a journalist for 6ABC Philadelphia, introduced by Councilwoman Reynolds Brown.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Reynolds Brown.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it. That resolution is adopted.
And a resolution recognizing National Mentoring Month on the work of Big Brothers Big Sisters Independence Region to connect Philadelphia children to positive and dedicated adult mentors, introduced by Councilwoman Reynolds Brown.
Chair again recognizes Councilwoman Reynolds Brown.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution honoring the African American Children's Book Project on the occasion of the 26th Annual African American Children's Book Fair and the February 3rd kickoff of the National Literacy Initiative's Preserve a Legacy by a Book program, introduced by Councilwoman Reynolds Brown.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Reynolds Brown.
Thank you. I move for the adoption.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution honoring and recognizing Merrill Levitz for her pioneering leadership of Visit Philadelphia and her extraordinary service to the city of Philadelphia, introduced by Councilwoman Reynolds Brown.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Reynolds Brown.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution recognizing and honoring Lynette Brown-Sow on the occasion of her retirement for her committed service to Community College of Philadelphia and for her many accomplishments that have benefited the city of Philadelphia, introduced by Councilwoman Blackwell.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Blackwell.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution recognizing and honoring Dr. Stephen S. Tang for his work at the University City Science Center and his leadership in technology and innovation in the city of Philadelphia, introduced by Councilwoman Blackwell.
Blackwell.
Councilwoman Blackwell.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Blackwell.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution authorizing the City Council Committee on Transportation and Public Utilities to hold hearings to discuss the public advertising and outreach concerning the implementation for the septic key cards and the phasing out of tokens, introduced by Councilwoman Blackwell.
Chair again recognizes Councilwoman Blackwell.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution honoring and congratulating Bill Speedy Morris on winning 1,000 games as a college and high school basketball coach, introduced by Councilman Greenlee.
Chair recognizes Councilman Greenlee.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution authorizing the Philadelphia City Council to hold public hearings to explore establishing public safety officers and alternative code enforcement methods to improve the quality of life throughout the city, introduced by Councilman Greenlee on behalf of Council President Clark.
Chair recognizes Councilman Greenlee. Really?
I'll move the adoption. I move the adoption of the resolution.
Okay. Yeah, I thought it was you. All right. It's okay.
But he can move it. It's just...
It's okay. The option was made, motion was made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution recognizing and honoring the Philadelphia Water Department crews and customer service staff for their unprecedented response to water main breaks and emergencies during the freezing cold weather in the winter of 2017-2018, introduced by Councilman Jones.
Chair recognizes Councilman Jones.
I move for this adoption.
You gotta get a second? It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution honoring and celebrating Philadelphia's living legends, George Albert Beach, Joey Temple, Rita R. Smith, Wade L., and Valeria Bullock, who are leaders in the area of civil rights, community activism, education, business, and youth mentorship in the Philadelphia area, and further honoring those legends who are no longer with us, Vernon Marks, Charlie Boo Burris, Abdul Malik Muhammad, Carl Moore, and Joe Falk, as part of the commemoration of Black History Month, introduced by Councilman Jones.
Chair again recognizes Councilman Jones.
Move for the adoption.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, the ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution honoring and recognizing Read by Forth for its dedication to increasing educational attainment in the city of Philadelphia, introduced by Councilman Johnson.
Chair recognizes Councilman Johnson.
I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the ayes have it. That resolution is adopted.
And a resolution honoring and recognizing the Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority for its dedication to sisterhood and service in celebration of the sorority's 110th anniversary, introduced by Councilman Johnson.
Chair again recognizes Councilman Johnson.
I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, the ayes have it. That resolution is adopted.
And a resolution honoring and recognizing the Philadelphia Industrial Development Corporation on the occasion of the organization's 60th anniversary, introduced by Councilman Johnson.
Chair recognizes Councilman Johnson.
I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, the ayes have it. That resolution is adopted.
And a resolution authorizing the Committee on Public Health and Human Services to hold hearings to assess the City of Philadelphia's efforts, as coordinated by the Managing Director's Office and our Human Services Departments, to prevent and treat abuse, addiction, and disease related to the use of opioids, introduced by Councilwoman Sanchez.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Fiona Sanchez.
Thank you. I move for its adoption.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, the ayes have it.
And a resolution authorizing the Committee on the Disabled and Persons with Special Needs to hold hearings regarding professional and family caregivers and first responders in the City of Philadelphia, introduced by Councilman Green.
Chair recognizes Councilman Green.
Thank you, Council President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution recognizing and honoring Jo Ann Fisher for her service to the women, children, and families of Philadelphia, introduced by Councilman Green.
Chair again recognizes Councilman Green.
Thank you, Council President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution authorizing Philadelphia City Council's Special Committee on Student Loan Debt to investigate the impact of student loan debt on older borrowers in the city of Philadelphia, introduced by Councilwoman Parker.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Parker.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution recognizing January 26, 2018 as Earned Income Tax Credit EITC Awareness Day in the city of Philadelphia, introduced by Councilman Dom.
Chair recognizes Councilman Dom.
Thank you, Council President. It was supported by all members of council, and I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution honoring and remembering the late D. Herbert Lipson, owner of Boston and Philadelphia magazines, who passed away Monday, December 25, 2017, at the age of 88 years old, introduced by Councilman Dom.
Chair recognizes Councilman Dom.
Thank you, Council President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution declaring January 30th, 2018, Fred Korematsu Day of Civil Liberties and the Constitution in the City of Philadelphia, introduced by Councilwoman Gim.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Gim.
Thank you very much, Council President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution honoring the heroic efforts of professional caregivers and declaring February 15, 2018 as Caregivers Day in the City of Philadelphia, introduced by Councilwoman Gim.
Chair again recognizes Councilwoman Gim.
Thank you very much, Council President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. That resolution is adopted.
And a resolution authorizing the Committee on Children and Youth to conduct hearings regarding the impact of unpredictable and inadequate work hours on the well-being of families and examining the effect of unstable work weeks on children and caregivers, introduced by Councilwoman Gim.
Chair one more time recognizes Councilwoman Gim.
Thank you very much, Council President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution authorizing the Committee on Education to hold hearings regarding Graduate Philadelphia, a nonprofit that supports adults who have some college credit and no degree to go back to school to get their diploma. The adults who return back to school to start or finish their college education have come to be known as comebackers, introduced by Councilman Taubenberger.
Chair recognizes Councilman Taubenberger.
Thank you, Council President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it. That resolution is adopted.
And a resolution honoring, recognizing, and celebrating the 25th anniversary of the Pennsylvania Convention Center of Philadelphia and the strong cultural and economic impacts it has had on our city and the region, introduced by Councilman Taubenberger.
Chair again recognizes Councilman Taubenberger.
Thank you, Council President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it. That resolution is adopted.
And a resolution authorizing Council's Committee on Transportation and Public Utilities to investigate train operators' responsibilities for cleanup, maintenance, and beautification of transit entry points into Philadelphia, introduced by Councilwoman Bass.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Bass.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. That resolution is adopted.
And a resolution recognizing and honoring the 2017 winners of PHL Live Center Stage, introduced by Councilman O.
Chair recognizes Councilman O.
Thank you very much. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it. That resolution is adopted.
And a resolution recognizing and honoring Brennan Jones for his Haircuts for the Homeless mission and Sean Johnson for donating a barbershop now called Phenomenon Perfection Hair Studio to keep the mission alive, introduced by Councilman O.
Chair recognizes Councilman O.
Thank you very much. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it. That resolution is adopted.
And a resolution recognizing and honoring Rob Schwartz for his pioneering multimedia career, introduced by Councilman O.
Chair again recognizes Councilman O.
Thank you. I move for adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
There are no other resolutions on the final passage calendar, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Mr. Decker. That concludes our calendar for the day. Are there any speeches on the part of the minority? And the chair recognizes Councilman Taubenberger.
Thank you, Council President. I just want to call attention to an elected official that long ago gave great service to this city as district attorney and as U.S. Senator. In 2008, Mr. Specter, a senator from Pennsylvania, and I'm quoting from the New York Times, said the former employee, Matt Walsh, described elaborate measures by the Patriots to conceal their filming of opponents' signals. Mr. Walsh also explained how the Patriots coaching staff gleaned and gathered strategic information from members of the team's video crew who had watched the St. Louis Rams walk through their practice before the 2002 Super Bowl. He also identified more games and opponents that were filmed by the Patriots and detailed the advantages that the team gained in later games. Mr. Specter, a longtime Philadelphia Eagles fan, has battled with the NFL on several issues over the years. This time, with his continued criticism of the league's investigation into the Patriots, he is raising questions about the legitimacy of the Patriots' accomplishments, which include 3 Super Bowl titles this decade, 1 against the Eagles, and an 18-0 record last season before a loss to the New York Giants in the Super Bowl. Mr. Specter said the league should initiate an inquiry like the one commissioned by Major League Baseball to explore the use of performance-enhancing drugs in that sport. Mr. Specter is quoted as saying, or Senator Specter, they owe the public a lot more candor and a lot more credibility. Well, this game will vindicate. This victory we will have in 2 weeks will give the victors all the more justice to overcome this awful situation that the Patriots have done over the years. So I say very loudly to all my colleagues into the entire city, go Eagles for justice.
Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilman O.
Thank you very much, Council President. I just wanted to alert the public that the Office of Transportation Infrastructure Systems is having an open house this evening between the hours of 6 and 8. Anyone who's interested in electric vehicle infrastructure, that report was completed by a task force. Councilman Squeal and myself were pleased to be a member of the task force, and everyone got together. There were people representing the EV owners, and a report and recommendations were completed. So the public is invited to the Municipal Services Building, which is right across from City Hall on John F. Kennedy Boulevard, and on the 16th floor, or actually on Arch Street, I'm sorry. Is it Arch Street? Okay, I'm sorry. The Municipal Services Building, 16th floor, Innovation Lab, where they can hear about the recommendations, offer criticisms and concerns. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilman. On behalf of the majority, Chair recognizes Councilman Squilla.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I too want to go with our Councilman Tautenberger saying that, this year, 2018 is the year of the dog in China for the Chinese, so we're going to rename it the year of the underdog, and for the Chinese New Year and in honor of the Eagles. But I do want to welcome all the council members back, and tonight we're 5 to 7 to remind everybody down at the Winterfest down at Penn's Landing, you're all welcome to come down with staff and enjoy a couple hours of the great venue down there with maybe some ice skating and some food and drinks. So hopefully if people can make it down there, we'll see you down there. If you have any questions, call our office and we'll help you guide you to the right spot. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Thank you for that information. Chair recognizes Councilman Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. So keeping on the Eagles theme, but on a serious note, the NFL commissioner, unbeknownst to a lot of people, Roger Goodell, as well as our personal hero, public safety, who wore it best, Malcolm Jenkins, spent an afternoon, about an hour, down at our pretrial unit over in CJC. And what they saw through a cash bail system shocked them to their core. So much so that they committed to be a part of the criminal justice reform. They saw firsthand how unfair, unequitable, and sometimes downright prejudice to poor people that system was. I want to thank you, Mr. President, for allowing me for the last 2 years to be a part of the Criminal Justice Reform Committee as one of the co-chairs. And we discussed and found out a great many things about criminogenic behavior, ranging from overcrowded jails, school-to-pipeline prisons, constant reoccurrences of criminal acts, so much so that an article was released today about grandfathers serving with their sons and serving with their grandsons at the same jail. So much so that we have had books dedicated to the over-incarceration of the Negro, calling it the new Jim Crow. So we here are, and one of the things that I'm calling for personally, because of your commitment to put us in a situation where we were modernizing our systems, I'm calling for the end to a cash bail system in the city of Philadelphia and Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Mr. President, in our research, we found out that a cash bail system comes from a 1,000-year-old medieval system that was created to make sure that, and they knew even then, that jails were too costly, and so we should let the accused go if they were not a danger to themselves or society, and that someone could assure that they would return to face trial. That's a 1,000-year-old medieval system that hasn't changed much. The American bail system has become the central issue in fighting the effects of mass incarceration and disproportionate impact on minorities and poor people. Every day, there are thousands of people that are not released from our jails, costing us, even my conservative counterparts that might be more concerned about the budget impact, at $130 a day for a $100 bail, meaning 10% of the $1,000 that they might be called for. We're the 4th largest jail population per capita of every large city in America, 4th largest. William Penn tried to reform the system in 1682 by creating, the Clerk of Quarter Sessions Office to manage that system. We had hearings about that and some of the problems with it and eliminate it, but we did not eliminate the cash bail system. I would suggest to my colleagues that anything that's 100 years old might require a checkup, a tune-up, a fix-up, and a change. Bail has 2 purposes: to make sure people come back and to protect the public. In Washington, D.C., they have not had a cash bail system in over 20 years. And just like we're going to face, the sky is falling and all hell's going to break loose, that did not happen. In fact, Washington, D.C.'s crime rates went down, and nobody goes away for free, scot-free. Nobody just opens the jail and lets people out. They let them out if they're not a danger to themselves or society with conditions. So me and, where'd he go? The cameraman for that has the Dallas cap. We get in a bar fight on Friday because he's a Dallas fan. Now we're friends, but I have a drinking problem. And this is a reoccurrence. Every Friday night I get my drink on and I go fight him. So the judge says, you know what, Mr. Jones, you probably don't need to be in jail. You probably need to be in a rehab. Would you go to rehab, and by the time you get back here, maybe you've completed that course, maybe you've seen the light, maybe you've changed your behavior for the better. And if not, we'll take that into account and rule accordingly. But you will be released with conditions. You will come back because you have an opportunity not to face prison time. Those should be the options as opposed to debtor's prison. Bail in Philadelphia has become a big business, and we know we're going to catch some flack about looking at things a little differently, but that's okay. So I'm calling for three things. One, I'm calling and asking that our counterparts in the Senate and in the House in Pennsylvania take a look at this for all of Pennsylvania. And if they can't do it for all of Pennsylvania, loosen up the regulations for cities of the first class, like Philadelphia, so we can manage our criminal justice system a little better. I'm going to also call upon the First District to take a look at our policies. As was said earlier, we have certain flexibility within our own rules and interpretation of the rules that we should look at. And then I'm going to call for Governor Wolf in Harrisburg to make this happen from a legal way. Now, that does not mean that we open the jails and let everybody out, because we met with 20 inmates up on State Road, and we asked them the simple question: should some people be incarcerated? And they looked around at each other and said, yep, some of us need to be here. But the vast majority of us that suffer because we're in jail because they don't have money to get out, they lose their jobs. They lose their apartments and homes. They lose their families and dignity and respect. And it creates a catastrophic series of events that they can't get out of. It increases poverty. When a kid goes and is pressured, as it was said, because they're sitting up there with the pressure of being in jail, and they plead guilty. They do not know at the time. They plead guilty just because they want that pressure of incarceration off of them, that there are over 200 things they will never get to do or be in this country, ranging from living in public housing with your family to ever being a postman or receiving a federal loan to start a business. We have to take a look. I am encouraged, Mr. President, and had a good conversation with the public defender and the new district attorney, and they too are looking at what work we've done to begin to incorporate that in their various departments. But I want to tell my other colleagues that our work is on the budget side. It's okay to know how to do good, but we also have to know how much doing good costs. So I'm going to say this in closing, that it's easier to help an at-risk kid than to try later to fix a broken man or woman. So thank you, Mr. President, for the opportunity.
Thank you, Councilman. Thank you, Councilman, and thank you for your continued good work on your committee. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Blackwell.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yesterday was Lou's 15th anniversary, the day of his passing. Time moves quickly. But today I rise to note the district council people have on their desks flyers of these cute little people, and it says Days Off School Meal Program. You all will remember that we passed a bill here stating that if schools are closed when City Hall and government buildings are open, that we should still make sure that children get fed. And so this is a flyer, and your offices have them in case you want to duplicate them or change them, that gives you the dates and locations in your districts for where children can get food on days when schools are closed and government buildings are open. Enjoy. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
Thanks.
Chair recognizes Councilman Dunn.
Thank you, Council President. I have three quick items. Today, I co-introduced with my colleague, Councilman Al Taubenberger, a very important piece of legislation to increase the amount of money that may be awarded to family members of fallen firefighters, police officers, prosecution detectives killed in the course of performing heroic deeds. These fallen heroes, fellow citizens, fellow Philadelphians, are performing the most selfless service to our city, putting their lives on the line day in and day out to protect each and every one of us. Previously, my colleague, Councilman Taubenberger, increased the hero awards to $50,000 as a way to express our gratitude for their selfless acts these heroic individuals perform in the line of duty. We feel it should be increased to $100,000 in the future. While no amount of money can heal the grief of the families of these fallen heroes, it can hopefully make their daily life a little easier. I'd like to offer a moment of silence. We had a terrible tragedy in the city. A firefighter, Lieutenant Matthew Letourneau, passed away fighting a fire two or 3 weeks ago. I'd like to have a moment of silence in his memory.
Thank you, Councilman. May we have a moment of silence for our fallen hero, firefighter. Please have a moment. Thank you. Councilman, want to have...
EITC is today. EITC Day is tomorrow, and as you all know by now, I'm a huge proponent of the Earned Income Tax Credit, and today I introduced a resolution recognizing January 26th as the EITC Awareness Day in Philadelphia. Today I'd like to acknowledge Mary Arthur, the Chief Executive Officer of Campaign for Working Families, as well as several employees of the IRS, including Doris Greenwood, who was here before, Joseph Solari, Victor Suarez, and others who are present here today. Maybe you could please stand. There they are. And I've said before, the average refund is $2,500 per return. Still, $100 million being left on the table every year. Could go to 40,000 Philadelphians. This year, the Campaign for Working Families has over 20 sites for free tax preparation throughout the city. Please visit one of their locations to file your free tax return and see if you qualify for EITC. You can also go to youearneditphilly.com for more information. And besides Campaign for Working Families, it's United Way and the Revenue Department do a good job in getting the money back. The last piece I want to mention is, actually two pieces, appraisals. I introduced legislation today that requires an appraisal prior to council approving acquisition of title in real estate. This does not apply to land bank, PRDA, sheriff's sales, or eminent domain. I'm talking about the big purchases, like a $40 or $50 million type property. This legislation will require an appraisal prior to council approving the sale of real estate where the value of such real estate is in excess of $200,000 as assigned by OPA. Last but not least, I want to stand with Councilman Jones on this bail reform. December 28th, I took a tour of the prisons with Commissioner Carney for 6 hours and visited all 6 prisons and saw what was going on, which is really terrible. And whatever I can do to support you with no non-cash bail, I mean, I'm 100% in. I see what's going on, and it's a problem. Just 2 side ventures, though. Visited the juveniles from prison. These are people under the age of 18. And we're going to, through Sylvester Mobley, I'm going to pay for a course to teach them coding. 16 or 17 of them signed up for a course on coding in prison, so when they come out, they'll have a career. And we're also doing that for some of the adults there, too. So hopefully we can get them back on track. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Bass.
Mr. President, I just wanted to say also, I want to echo Councilman Dom and thank Councilman Jones for his very important work that he's doing on bail reform as well. And really all of my colleagues for the hard work and the work that's being done. And Councilman Blackwell with the Days Off School Meals Program, which I remember when we passed here in City Council and had hearings on. And, you know, we've done some really great work on that and other issues. So I just really wanted to recognize my colleagues on all the hard work they're doing. But I also wanted to mention just a couple of things. The first is that today I introduced a resolution for hearings with our train rail operators, which would include Amtrak, SEPTA, CSX, Conrail, and Norfolk Southern, regarding the rail lines and the appearance of Philadelphia as you travel inside and outside. It's really quite disgraceful. And so what we're doing is hopefully having a hearing in which we can come to a compromise, a spirit of cooperation, and work together, because we know that a lot of people come in and out and through Philadelphia, and the appearance matters. You know, the first impression really does matter, and this is a first impression, so we look forward to having those conversations publicly and hearing what they have to offer in terms of cleanup and maintenance of their property, not city property, not private property, but their property. So we look forward to having that conversation. And this is a nice segue into the Eagles, because we know that people are going to be coming into Philadelphia because the Eagles are going to win the Super Bowl. But as they're coming in, we want to mention that on Super Bowl Sunday, we're going to be having a community block party, tailgate, Super Bowl party. It's going to be held at Lonnie Young Recreation Center on Super Bowl Sunday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The festivities will start. We're going to have Philadelphia's legendary DJ Gary O, along with the Urban Guerrilla Orchestra. We're going to have all kinds of activities. Everything is free food, and we just want folks to come out and be safe and have a good time in the community. So again, this is going to be at Lonnie Young Rec Center on Super Bowl Sunday, which is February 4th, starting at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and it's going to be, again, a community tailgate and Super Bowl watch party. So we just want to invite folks to feel free to come out from all over the city. Thank you.
Awesome. All right, thank you, Councilwoman. Chair recognizes Councilman Johnson.
Thank you, Council President. And it does feel good to be back with this robust of hardworking people here in City Council. Just a couple things I just want to acknowledge. One, I want to also acknowledge Councilman Curtis Jones, particularly on the issue of ending cash bail, because we all know that your checkbook or your pocketbook shouldn't determine your freedom. And so I do want to thank you for your leadership on this particular issue. And also, I remember Councilman Dom, over the holiday, I also visited to the young people on State Road to take a look at solitary confinement. And I had a chance to talk to each of the young men and try to get an idea of their current experience while they were on State Road. And they talked about the coding program, they talked about the engineering technical program that they have there, but also the need for bringing more programs inside the prisons so they can also focus on making the transition when they do go back into society. And so we want to continue to make sure that we're being supportive of those. These are juveniles, basically children, that are in adult prisons, or that are in the adult prison system, and making sure they have all the support that they have. And I think the part that broke my heart was a young man who received a 40-year sentence. He's 17 years old. And, you know, I asked him about his experience while he was waiting on State Road to be sentenced, and he said, it's difficult to be away from my parents because I've never been away from my parents. This is my first time being arrested. So here's a kid, first time being arrested, get a 40-year hit, like right off the beginning, right? And so it just reinforces the urgency that, again, if we're going to be a great city, we're going to bring Amazon here to the city of Philadelphia, we need to continue to make sure addressing the issue of youth gun violence and keeping the hands out of the guns of our young people our number one priority. If we can have safe injection sites for those who want to get high, surely we can find ways to keep guns out of young people who want to get involved in something that's positive. And so on this budget process coming up, I'm going to be very aggressive, and that means calling folks out that's not stepping up to make sure we have the resources available to support our young people. No young person this summer should be looking for a summer job. Like, that's the approach that we have to take in order to take back the streets of the city of Philadelphia for our young people. But on another note, Council President, I want to thank you for stepping up to the plate to address this issue of congestion when it comes to traffic, the flow of traffic in the city of Philadelphia. And so I had a recent meeting with Michael Carl to talk about how we're going to look at congestion. I live in Point Breeze, South Philadelphia. I lived in South Philly all my life. I used to walk to Center City, right? Rittenhouse Square, before there was new residents, I used to hang out there when I was a kid, right? You could walk from Point Breeze to work in 10 minutes, right? It took me a half an hour to get to my teen retreat on Market, 17th and Market from Point Breeze last Friday. And this is consistent. And so we got to figure out like the new traffic flow plan, because right now we're on the verge of becoming a New York. And if you go to New York, you know, it don't make sense to get in the car to go anywhere because there's gridlock. And so whatever we come up with, rather civilian patrol officers similar to New York, rather it's a a toll on cars similar to New York, because you have Uber and you have Lyft, drivers just riding around. And so we got to figure it out, but I mean, it's getting ridiculous how long it takes to get from point A to point B. Even when you leave even when we leave here to go home. I know to get to South Philly, I got to pick between Broad Street and 15th Street. We're going to get my son. I got to go all the way up to like 21st just to get back to 17th Street. That don't make any sense. So we got to figure out that traffic control piece, and thank you for at least providing one part of the solution to try to look at how do we take back our city when it comes to just getting around. So thank you, Council President.
It's going to be a very interesting discussion. Got some really good people coming in to talk about it.
Good.
Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilman Green.
Thank you, Council President. I'm going to join my colleagues in saluting Councilman Jones for his leadership on addressing the bail issue in our city and ending cash bail. Also commend him for reaching out at the state level. I know State Representative Jordan Harris has been working on this issue and calling on our state counterparts and our governor to also take steps to address cash bail here in the city of Philadelphia. And I just want to hone in on a point that he made and kind of illuminate that issue, that this is an issue, not only an equal justice issue, but also an issue in reference to poverty. And when someone is not able to pay for bail and is in jail for a period of time, and then they get released and those charges get dismissed, they come back to a broken home. They come back to not having a job, and it has a ripple effect in our entire city of Philadelphia. And when we talk about issues of having such a high amount of poverty, cash bail is one aspect that adds to the poverty in our city. And I want to also remind members of this body that during the good administration, the city helped support a bail fund. And so until we get rid of cash bail, we need to have supportive organizations that are providing bail funds. Some of them have testified today in reference to helping people to get out of jail. So we had hearings last year regarding, can the city support a bail fund? Councilman Johnson as well as Councilman Jones talked about the budget process, and so we'll be having some very interesting and difficult conversations with a number of parties about this issue, but also with the First Judicial District, as Councilman Jones says. So when we have our budget hearings and the First Judicial District comes to testify, we need to ask them the hard question about what happens when we charge someone bail and where does that money go to. When we had the hearings regarding the bail fund, they couldn't give us a specific background or information or reason on how they articulate and define that number. Is that number to pay for the cost of running certain things? We couldn't get that number. It seemed very arbitrary. So I know I'm sure Councilman Jones and others will be reaching out to our First Judicial District to find out how do they come up with the fees and fines that we charge in reference to bail. And then also, we also need to have a conversation with the First Judicial District regarding the oversight of our bail commissioners. Because although our new district attorney, our public defenders can ask the court to not provide bail, the bail commissioner can still set bail. And I can recall being both a former ADA here in Philadelphia and also being an assistant deputy attorney general in Delaware, times where I did not believe a state trooper or a police officer and did not want to move forward with a case or did not want to have a certain bail amount. It's still up to that bail commissioner to make that decision. So we need to make sure we have the hard questions with the First Judicial District before they get here for budget hearings to find out why and what amount they're setting on our bail funds and where that money is going to, and two, what's the oversight for our bail commissioners, so that way we can take the steps, as Councilman Jones stated, to get rid of cash bail and also to support those organizations that are doing bail funds in that interim. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilman. That concludes our speeches on behalf of the minority and majority, and with that, the chair recognizes Councilwoman Reynolds Brown for a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that council stand adjourned until Thursday, February 1, 2018 at 10 a.m.
Thank you. It's been moved and proper second that council stand adjourned until Thursday, February 1st, 2018, 10 a.m. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. Thank you all very much.